I'm remembering that as I was growing up, we used to call fake goods and fake clothing ifong kong here in South Africa, right? When we could tell that you were wearing counterfeit clothing. And unfortunately, counterfeit goods are no longer just a street corner problem. They've moved online and into social media feeds where a lot of our local brands are also suffering from their clothing, their designs being counterfeited and put online. Our guest knows this too well. The founder of Idaimane, Tebogo Selibi, is confronting counterfeit versions of his own products sold on Facebook as well as in the streets of Johannesburg, reportedly losing over 100,000 rand in sale. That's roughly 5,400 US dollars. But instead of staying silent, he's choosing to fight back. And Tebogo joins us on the line today to chat about this counterfeit crisis. Tebogo, thank you so much for your time. Good morning.
No, good morning. Thank you guys for having me.
I can't imagine how hard it is to work hard, create a brand. First of all, a brand that's well known enough in our continent for people to want to wear it, for you to start making an income. And then you're scrolling on your social media and you're like, yeah, these are my clothes, but this is not the ones that I've made. Tell me about that experience.
Um, yeah, I think it's a bittersweet, it's a bittersweet moment. Because I think firstly for us, when you first encounter like either people trying to scam honest South Africans using your products, it's a bit disheartening. Also when you find out that, oh, okay, excuse me, there's counterfeit products out there in the streets of wherever they could be. It starts off as a very disheartening process. However, as you keep progressing and as you keep getting feedback, and the more people you speak to, you kind of then realize that actually no, this is not as bad as it should be, right? So it's more just confirmation that for your product there is a demand. People actually want to wear the stuff that you make that either maybe they just can't, particularly either afford the current price point. But I think why I say it's bittersweet is because of that. It always starts off as a very sad, disheartening process because you're like, these are always obviously also most likely South Africans doing this to another local brand.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm also making this for South African people to create South African jobs, to be able to just, give back into the South African economy. Because everything that we make, we locally make in the country, right? So from the fabric with different kind of threads to us, our own patterns, we had to establish those. It took us about 2 years, to actually get to a point where we were ready to launch. And I think already in the first couple of months, we've encountered scams, we've encountered the counterfeit products. So, yeah, I think now when I look back, it's just like this is actually a confirmation that what you guys are doing is great. People can actually see the authenticity, the uniqueness, the quality that they even, doing whatever it takes to get it. Sometimes even if it means that it's a cheap imitation. But yeah, they just want to see themselves with this pattern on their backs.
It's good to see a concept being loved by people, but this is very costly to you as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur and as someone who's trying to create a brand. What impact has this had on your business?
Sure. It's a bit of a twofold, and I think that's a very great question because already I think from why I say it's a twofold, from the beginning, I don't know what it is in me that said patent um the designs, trademark the name, trademark the slogan, like just do as much protection as far as your intellectual property is involved. It's almost like I knew that nah, this is like, it's way too good to be true.
Mhm.
So already, like from before launching, we already just started to trademark and register all of our designs, and all of those sort of things. So of course, there's financial outflow, to make those things happen, they cost money. So already from just while you're still at the inception stage, you're spending money on sampling, you're spending money on patterns like I've just mentioned now. There's a lot of things that we had to basically say no to, that we've already designed and like, this is not gonna cut it. So getting to that point, going back to my story of, it took us 2 years before we launched. It's a lot of money even before going to market. So you can imagine now you spend over six figures across 2 years, just firstly making this thing exist, saying no to a lot of great ideas because you want really the best of the best. And then going out into the market and promoting your stuff, giving some of it away to do collabs with either influencers or public figures, trying to make sure that your product has as much visibility as possible. Only then to find out that also, once again, all that investment that you're making, someone out there is looking at it and saying, hey, actually, I can benefit from this. Actually, I can take away from this brand and actually put money into my pocket instead of helping these guys to say, this is something great that they're doing. This is something beautiful and unique. And in fact, let's help them, get to reach more people. But in fact, it's like someone looks at it and says, hey, let me actually take what these guys are doing and let me try, scam people with it, or let me just try to make a couple of money for myself. So yeah, it's had a big financial implication because we invested a lot in this brand,
Yeah.
and we continue to invest, and of course, once again, it's self-funded. So, when you bootstrap as well, I think it hurts a bit more because that could have been the money that would have bought my daughter a big Christmas gift, but I'd have to sell for like a small thing because I'm just trying to put money into this thing. Yeah, it's like I've said, it's disheartening at first, but over time you start to really understand how the retail landscape works and what certain things also really mean on the ground. And I think obviously also from a longevity perspective as well. But yeah, it's been quite a lot of financial investment.
For someone who isn't, that financial and also not an entrepreneur, like so many people who might be listening to it, to this, I might not understand how exactly the loss of money takes place. Because, the thought is you have your brand, you're creating your clothes and you're selling your clothes, and that's where you make your income. So if someone else is creating a counterfeit good that looks like your brand, they're not coming from your actual clothes, they're not coming from your process. So how are you losing money? How did this become a loss of over 100,000 rands?
So once again, so how retail typically works, right? We have seasons. And what normally happens is that throughout the year, we try to build the hype. We try to invest as much as we possibly can, like I've mentioned already. So from a visibility perspective, from an advertising perspective, from a brand positioning perspective, marketing activities, so that by the time we get to the festive season, we know that, all of that attention now will come to us because we've already built that hype. We've already created that desire for people to basically say, man, I've been seeing this thing the whole year. Actually, now that I have a bit more income, or now that I'm actually at a spending place in my life, let me actually support this business. Because remember, your festive season, I think from around September right through December, South Africans typically spend around 6,000 Rand more a month, right? So you could basically make maybe, for example, 200,000 the whole, year, but then those last 4 or 5 months, you make literally over 1 million. So that's typically how I think we also lost money. But also, like I said to you, remember, they are pretty much infringing on our copyrights, on our trademarks, on our design, that are patent. They are basically also taking, once again, our visibility, that we are the ones spending money promoting. But now you're going to just basically take our picture, put it on your Facebook page and tell people that, hey guys, order from me. And there are some people that want to maybe look at it and say, oh, yo, okay, at the price that they've listed the dress, I
Sure.
really don't think that I can pay for that. And then maybe this guy comes at like, a fraction of a cost. So that money that would have probably come to us goes directly to these guys, using
okay.
our IP. So essentially how we lose money is through things like that, so you infringe on someone's IP, one. But like I said, two, for the fact that you actually already have a scam set up on Facebook where people now can buy through your groups or through you and not come to us, we are losing that customer or those customers.
Sure, it seems
And
like a
then
big
thirdly, of
loss,
course, having
Tebogo.
the
Let's
actual
take a bit of a
counterfeit
break.
products,
Sorry
yeah.
to cut you off there. We just need to go to a break quickly. And I'm interested in that third point. We'll come to it after the break. We're speaking to Tebogo Silebi, founder of Itaimani. I've been speaking a little bit about his experiences with his product being counterfeited and the implications of that. We'll speak about more of that after the break.
Channel Africa is evolving, and so are you. Stay connected wherever you are with our brand new website and mobile app. Stream your favorite shows, catch up on African news, culture, and conversations, all at your fingertips.
Africa is just a tap away.
Your world, your stories, now on the go.
Stay connected wherever you are.
Visit channelafrica.co.za or download the Channel Africa app today. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Balisa and Benjamin fuel your day with fresh African perspective on Channel Africa.
Hey, we always speak about creating our own products right here on the African continent, and also being able to celebrate our own by acquiring what is made from our own neighborhoods, from our own people, from our own entrepreneurs right here on the African continent. But things get very murky when we see counterfeit goods starting to take away business from our local entrepreneurs. Tebogo Selebi, founder of Idaimani, is one of those who has lost up to 100,000 South African rands. That's the equivalent of $5,400 in sales. And we're speaking about just surviving such a scenario and situation. Tebogo, you were telling us that third pointer of some of the losses you've experienced. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but we had to go to a break.
No, that's fine. So yeah, the third point that I was basically raising is when you actually then get people that also invest, their own money into making those cheap imitations. Once again, it's one of those things, you go to a small street, for example, our golfer for men ranges at about 1,400. And the golfer that these guys were selling at small street is 140. So you can imagine how someone would basically look at that and buy that instead of saying, what, let me actually go to the actual the actual business that, produces these things. Whereas we already also have, flexible payment options where people don't actually have to pay maybe at a once-off cost, but you can pay your garments or whatever that you want to purchase over time. Because we've set up for those scenarios as well, where we're saying maybe someone wants to support us, but they don't actually have the actual, 100% of the money up front, but they still want to be able to be part of the Idaimani community.
Yeah.
So yeah, you lose money through things like that, man. Having a product on the street that is not authentic, that is not original, that is not real, and that is not yours, but it's using your patterns, it's using your silhouettes, those sort of things. It's basically just taking money out of your pocket.
And so how do you counter that? Excuse the pun.
No, good one. So like I've already mentioned, so I think for us, the smart thing, from the very onset, very early on, we, like I said, trademarked the things that we had to, we patented the designs. So we own the IP as far as the look, the feel, the name, the slogan, and things like that. And you obviously speak to, SAPS, JMPD, and say, hey guys, here's my certificates, here's my design certificates. These guys are basically just taking my pattern or my work and my brand name and putting it on whatever fabric and basically selling it. So therefore, there's proof that these are actually counterfeits, and then they help you with the raids and basically just take the products off the streets. So I wouldn't advise people go there themselves. You'll end up getting into trouble, or even worse, getting hurt. So rather just go to law enforcement. Your depending on obviously where you're from in terms of province or whatever the case might be, but go to your metro police, go to your South African police services and basically show them that this is my certificates. I know of a place, I know where they are, they're selling, they're infringing on my copyright as a creator in South Africa. Therefore, please assist me in terms of getting the product off the shelves and getting it basically out of the streets.
I'm glad that you said that, confronting those people in person might be dangerous, because I was going to ask you, so what do you do? Like, how, what is your action when you're scrolling even on Facebook and then you see your clothing there? Do you say, hey, this is my clothes? Or if you're walking in the CBD or a friend of yours is walking there and you see them, like, you guys are not allowed to sell this. These are my clothes. So it's just the legal route that you can take. I mean, but doesn't that make you like angry? Doesn't that make you want to confront them and say, you're doing the wrong thing? Why are you doing this to me?
Of course, it's like I said, it starts off as very disheartening. And because of that, it becomes a very emotional process, because you're like, dude, I've invested 24 months or more into this thing. And you're just going to come and just take it and pretend to be me, or you're just going to come and take our products and basically pretend to be the real deal. So for example, with the Facebook scams, unfortunately also once again, we had to give them visibility in terms of I had to post about it, to say, guys, this is not the real thing. It's a scam. Don't buy from these pages. Don't buy from anyone else besides coming to our store or basically shopping through our e-commerce site. Or if we do also have pop-ups, but don't buy from other channels that are not with the right domains, that are not with the right verification tools on like social media and things like that. So you have to kind of like maybe, yeah, put it out there to say this is what these guys are doing. Therefore, yeah, this is how we feel about it. And guys, please be careful not to be scammed, or please be careful not to buy this thing assuming it's the real thing. And next thing you're gonna come and tarnish us to say the quality is not great or it's
Yeah.
not worth the cost or whatever the case might be, because that is not us. If you wanna buy Money, these are the channels that you're gonna have to buy Money from. But like also to your point, even for the physical ones, I knew that going there is it's not gonna give me the results that I want, because yeah, mokhulele kasi bukasi bukatswa, and anything can happen. Ukilabona.
Yeah,
So you
yeah.
also don't want to put your life or other people's life at risk over something that could be dealt with, legally and yeah, in due process.
All right, so I'm glad that you are, definitely fighting this the legal way and making sure that there are steps taken towards this. Because I know for certain you're not the only designer in South Africa in particular, because that's your landscape, that's our landscape as well. And, there's so many other designers all across the continent who are fighting that same fight. So I really hope success in that. But for those who've also seen your product and want to buy it the right way, let us know where we can find your products.
Yeah. So like I've already mentioned, currently we have 3 channels. So for the guys that maybe are in Joburg or Gauteng or don't mind driving, you could basically come support us at 680 Trichardt Road in Bears Park in Boksburg. So that's basically where our store is located. But also all this is also on our social media platforms. And then of course you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, as well as TikTok. It's Itaimani. You'll see our iconic variation of a diamond logo. And also as well as the verification badges to just confirm that those are our official pages. However, if you also want to go through, Google search, or basically just search us online, it is www.itaimani.africa. So those are the only channels that we use. And then, of course, like I've mentioned, we've also started doing pop-ups. So you'll also now see our team in person. You'll touch and feel. You'll probably see me there. Yeah, so that's basically the channels where for the people that want to actually buy the real thing, that's how they can find it.
Incredible. Thank you so much. All the best in your brand, but also in fighting these counterfeit goods. And you guys, stop it. Don't buy counterfeit goods. You really are hurting our own economy here on the continent. Tebogo, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
That's the founder of the fashion brand Itaimani, Tebogo Selebi, speaking about his fight against the counterfeit goods of his brands all over social media and on the streets. Let us know what you think about this conversation. Our WhatsApp line is +27 83 288 6684. It's 9:30. Let's get our latest sports.